This episode is brought to you by Auto Hauler Exchange.
See somebody doing something good, you need to say something right then and there. Because it's no different than when a dog has an accident in the house. If you wait 5 hours to rub his nose in it, he's like, why are you getting my nose wet? He doesn't know how to correlate the two things together.
All right, gang, sitting down with my pal Michael Elwood. He is the general manager at Checkered Flag Jaguar Land Rover VW. We're going to be talking about unreasonable hospitality in the car business. Stay tuned. Michael, what does the L in wood stand for?
It's my middle initial, which is Lane.
Lane, strong.
Yeah, it actually has some significance. It was a gentleman that served in Vietnam with my father. And so he wanted to pay a little homage to him. So when I was born, he didn't want to name me Lane, but he put it in there for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And are you Michael with an AE or an EAL?
I don't think an EAL should exist. This isn't tomato. I mean, there's only one way to spell it. The MICHAEL.
That's it. Good. 2 P's in a pod. The AEL Michaels.
Let's
I
go.
love it. You posted something the other day on LinkedIn, and I had to reach out to you immediately and say, we've got to talk about this on the show. It resonates so deeply with me. We're talking about unreasonable hospitality, but I want to get it from your vantage point. What does that mean to you in an industry that is seems to be black or white? You are a lion or you are a sheep. You are a hustler or you are impoverished. You are, all these absolutes. As a general manager in the industry with a vantage point that, you can see the playing field, what does it mean to have unreasonable hospitality from your perspective?
I really think that what it comes down to is accepting the fact that we have to move beyond the 2 transaction points that we typically focus on, which would be when the client wants to purchase a vehicle or sell us one, or when they come in for service. So we typically live in this transactional mindset, and that may work for people like you and me, men, but for the 80 to 90% of the consumers that influence decisions, i.e. the females, they're looking for more of an experience when they go somewhere. Katie Mayer said it best in her book that women, when they go shopping, they fall in love. And if you look at your process from that lens, I don't know how my process would make any female fall in love with my dealerships. And so I've started to look at it as, how can I add value to the experience? We know that it takes a client some time to figure out what kind of car they want. We also know that sometimes it takes a little bit of time to service the vehicle. It's like going to a dentist. Your appointment may be at 7:30, but you get seen when you get seen, right? We accept that in the medical industry. My wife's in the medical industry. It's endemic of that industry, but customers don't accept that here. So how can I make it more engaging? And more importantly, how can I add value to the total ownership experience so that will then enhance the 2 transaction points when they are needed to happen? So I've kind of looked at it from, what can I do while a customer is on at my facility, I should say, and what can I do to make that experience better for them? And it's listening to what they're talking about, providing the right things in the showroom, making sure that we have appropriate premium beverages. Those are all the barriers to entrance, in my opinion. Those are just, if you're not doing those things right now, you're already missing out. But then I think it goes to the next level. To speak to Will Guidera's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, what are we doing to understand the client so that we're making them feel more seen when they're here? And it really is, it's right there at our fingertips. So I've been really asking my staff, hey, when you got a client that's coming in, whether it's for a service appointment or for a sales appointment, why are we not utilizing social media to understand them better, to connect the dots? Danny Meyer talks about being a dot collector, and then as a leader, it's your job to connect those dots. Well, if I only have 2 dots and the roadmap between the 2 of them is massive, how am I going to connect them? Well, I get little dots in between there. And so let's just take a client that's coming in to buy a Defender, for example. The Defender client, by and large, is typically an outdoorsy type person. They typically are into fitness and a healthy lifestyle. So we accept that and we know that, but why don't we confirm that? If you're coming in to buy a Defender from me, Michael, if I found out that you're big into surfing or whatever that may be, that's something that we could talk about, and you wouldn't expect that. And how much does that cost? Absolutely nothing. It costs nothing to understand your client and make them feel more seen while they're here. And I think that alone can happen, or can help happen, or help more transactions occur, because nobody else is doing that. Nobody else
Yeah.
is asking, who are you? And let me help you connect the dots between who you are with the least expensive vehicle that best fits those needs.
Dude, I'm so into this right now. You've struck a chord. I think about there's two things here that I want to unpack. First of all, I loved that you used the word what, not how. You said, what can we do? What will we do? I feel like how is such a philosophical preposition. But how? How? Don't worry about the how. What are you going to do? Let's break it down. And you've given us a couple of things here that are going into the playbook. Number one, using social media to connect the dots. That is a what. What am I going to do? I'm going to use social media to connect the dots. By doing what? Now, some people might go, but how? No. By doing what? There's so many things we can do. We could join groups. Like, I'm sure there are Land Rover groups out there. I'm sure there are, Toyota groups out there, so on and so forth. So join those groups and engage in conversation.
100%. We're part of the 757, which is our local area code Defender Club. And in fact, on not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after, we're doing Defenders and Donuts. We're inviting all of our Defenders owners in to come in and show off all of the different accessories they put on their vehicles, maybe even show off some of the heritage Defenders that they own. And I'm going to provide a coffee truck and a bunch of donuts for everybody to hang out with, just so that they're there. And do I expect anybody to purchase a car? No, that's not what it's for. And that's where people miss the point, is that they always feel that when you have an expenditure of money, that there has to be a measurable ROI at that exact point. But why can't it be a cumulative ROI effect that you're making on the marketplace by being a differentiator and saying, hey, I agree with you. The way we sell and service cars sucks. But hey, I'm raising my hand to say I'm willing to try something different. And yes, I accept that I may fail in some of these attempts, but fail stands for first attempt in learning. And if I don't fail, I can't learn how to then serve my customers, to your point, figure out the what instead of continuing just to ask how. I think how is kind of like going to somebody with a problem without a solution. You're just, not going to say the word, but it's the same concept, man. It's like, just try things. Not everything's going to work perfectly. And my boss is very happy to let me know when they don't work perfectly. But in the same respect, he's also willing to say, hey, you know what? I wouldn't have thought of that idea, and it worked out pretty well. So great job on that. You have to have that culture, and it has to be top down when it comes to wanting to try these things. We have a really great process here at Checkered Flag. We're negotiation free. We're single point of contact. We have a script for meet and greets for our clients. We have a concept statement for our clients that typically answers questions that they want to ask but are not willing to ask. We do a flip chart presentation with our clients before we even go look at cars, so that we can really explain how the whole process works. And one of the things we're getting ready to start rolling out is I've purchased 50 birthday cards. I purchased 50 graduation cards. I purchased 50 retirement cards, and all of the staff are going to sign them, and we're going to have them available so that, again, let's go back to that example. Michael, you're coming in to look at a Defender, and let's say that I figured out that your birthday is in 7 days. Once I do the scripted meet and greet, I'm going to say, hey, well, you know what, Mike, pause for a second. I just wanted to tell you happy birthday. I know your birthday's coming up in a few days. Here's a card from everybody here at the dealership. We hope you have a great birthday. Let's get back to finding that car that best fits your needs. It's these little things that you can do that show the customer that you fundamentally care about them. And it's like the hot dog story from Unreasonable Hospitality. Those $2 dirty water dogs had the biggest impact on that client. Will could have given away a 1982 Chateau Mouton Rothschild that would have cost him $1,500, and it would have had zero effect on them. But he listened, and then he connected the dots between what was missing, and he created a memorable experience that created promoters of his business. And that's what I'm looking to do. I want promoters of my business, and that's where that ROI comes from. And so I measure it in repeat recidivism business and referral business. That really should be the way Net Promoter is determined anyways. And so that's just kind of what I'm doing.
Hey, before we continue with this episode, I want to take a minute to thank this episode's sponsor, Auto Hauler Exchange. Brokers are overcharging and taking forever to ship vehicles. That's a fact. Auto Hauler Exchange is the solution. They eliminate brokers from vehicle logistics by connecting shippers and carriers directly through their online marketplace. Pretty cool. With over 5,000 highly vetted carriers on the exchange, dealers can turn vehicles quicker and open up entirely new markets for buying and selling vehicles. Sounds like a godsend. On average, it takes 5 days from a time a dealer lists a vehicle on the exchange to when it arrives at its destination. I mean, speed to market, people. Speed to market. So let me ask you, how long are your vehicles taking to ship? And if you don't know, that's probably another reason for you to try Auto Hauler Exchange. You get analytics, you get reporting, and it's all going to help you better understand your shipping costs and timelines. Talk about transparency. And guess what? It's completely free to list your vehicles. The exchange takes a transparent 10% fee for shipping with no hidden fees. The price you pay, minus the 10% fee, is the amount that Auto Hauler Exchange is paying to the carrier. Get your vehicles moving faster today and talk with someone from the Auto Hauler Exchange team to get set up with a shipper account. Visit autohaulerexchange.com to get more information. All right, let's pop back to this episode. What do you do to get buy-in from your people?
It's a great question. Every Saturday we have a meeting with the variable team, and I typically spend that time to introduce them to the ideas that I'm learning when I read. I'm a voracious reader, probably 3 to 4 books a month, and I wouldn't have any of these ideas if it wasn't for those books. But the ideas are only as good as the person that's putting them out there. And so if I kept them to myself and didn't disseminate it to my staff, then they wouldn't believe it. And additionally, if this wasn't a consistent thing that we did every Saturday where they know they're getting a little lesson, if you will, from Mike, then they also wouldn't buy in. So it's got to be the consistency in the messaging to them. And then giving them examples. For instance, when we were moving we have a 4 video per lead minimum that we have on the variable side. So if you submit a lead, product specialist is what we call our sales staff. They have to average 4 videos per lead on a month-to-month basis. And that was hard to get buy-in at first. But when we gave them anecdotal evidence of when a customer fills out a digital airstrike survey and said, I submitted leads to 3 different dealerships, but Reggie sent me a video of the vehicle I was looking at and also introduced himself, so I knew who I was coming to see. That female client felt more comfortable coming to us, so she came to us. So it's sharing all of those wins with the staff so they don't think that it's just my opinion. It's also their customer saying, hey, what Mike told you to do, that's actually working. So maybe let's lean in. And then, of course, you've got to Pavlov it a little bit. You've got to have some money in the spiff fund to be able to say, hey, great job on that video. You actually answered the question the client was asking. And, for that, here's $25. Go have lunch on me. And sure, this can't be an unlimited budget. You have to use it appropriately. And I like to use the example with my management staff is that if you see somebody doing something good, you need to say something right then and there. Because it's no different than when a dog has an accident in the house. If you wait 5 hours to rub his nose in it, he's like, why are you getting my nose wet? He doesn't know how to correlate the two things together. And so if you want the best response, when you see them delivering what you're looking for, say great job. It doesn't always have to have money involved with it. It's just like when I was training my puppy. Initially, I had to start with treats, but over time, I could omit the treats and just go to giving them love, and I got the same response out of the training. And so I hate to say that training staff is like training a dog because that sounds kind of messed up, but it's not what I mean. It's just we're all hardwired that way. It's all in our operating systems that we utilize on a day-to-day basis in our brains. And, I like to think that our operating systems can be upgraded just like you can upgrade an iPhone. We're born with the hardware that we were born with. You can't do anything about that. But you can provide upgrades to your operating system on a daily basis to get the most out of the hardware you were born with.
Dude. And the number one operating system, just listening to you, is the one that's in between your ears. You got to upgrade your mindset to really see this. I want to touch on something you brought up, leadership. You said you're an avid reader and you're delineating information that excites you to your team. You have to be consistent. And then you said providing examples. And I wrote down leadership isn't about words. It's about demonstrating pattern you want people to follow or emulate.
Yeah, leadership is let me rephrase it. Management is managing a process that somebody else put in place and forcing somebody to do that. Leadership, in my opinion, is getting those same people to follow the process without the force. And so I'm just trying to show them that this is the path forward. We have two options. Sure, I can manage you into it, but if I can lead you into it, then you have ownership of it and you want to move forward with it and you're going to take it and run with it. And that's what I want. And what I see out of that process is I get feedback. I say, hey, Mike, I tried that and this didn't work. And then we'll workshop it together. And I'm like, all right, well, on the next one, let's try this. Because we're all moving to the same drum. We're trying to get to the idea of making sure that the customer has a phenomenal experience that is demonstrably better than anything else in the marketplace. So if that's our Northern Star, then we have to have that back and forth communication of this is working, this isn't working.
It's so much more than you work for me, do what here's a script, read it. What you're actually doing, Michael, is you are training them to think and act for themselves in a way that gets a positive response from the guests. But what intrigues me about this even more is Checkered Flag now becomes an ecosystem in which you are training people for not just what happens professionally, but what happens in every other facet of their life.
100%.
What kind of examples are you seeing from your perspective as a GM in people? Like, are there any people that you've observed drastic change in where you're like, dude, kind of like a dad, it's like, wow, there was no hope for that person, but then I saw a twinkle in their eye and then they started following a pattern and now they're making waves?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could give you examples of both of my stores, honestly. And I have a salesperson at VW. His name's Jakiri. He was in the Marine Corps, and he gets some money from the Marine Corps for his retirement and whatnot. And so financially, he was fine. But over time, he's come and he's talked to me, and he's like, "Listen, I'm really listening to what you're saying, and I'm starting to see that there's more there for me." And he has ratcheted it up, man. I'm telling you, just last month alone, he was the number 10 total volume sales for new cars in the Southeast region of Volkswagen. That doesn't happen accidentally. You don't stumble upon that. It's just his belief in what we're talking about, and he's taking it to the next level. I've got another one at JLR. I mean, this guy is a killer. His name's Reggie. He is just constantly growing and growing and growing. And once he decides fully that this is the industry he wants to be in, the world should watch out. I mean, the man's going to get whatever he wants to in this industry. And it's my job to either help him understand that this is a viable future for him, or to give him everything that I can while he's here. And if he decides to go elsewhere, great. Then I've just helped prepare a human for the world. And we need better humans in this world. So I'm okay if I train these people and they leave, because it's better than the alternative. The alternative is I just sit here and expect something different and watch my customer experience be destroyed. So I'm just going to keep giving to them and hope in return that I'm creating the leaders that our organization needs moving forward, because we don't generally hire management from outside. We promote from within. And I can't think of a greater compliment than when the executive team comes to me and says, Mike, I need to take your service manager to this store to fix a problem. Or Mike, I need to take your product specialist to this store to promote them to a team leader. That's the best compliment I could ever get, because that means that they're seeing what I'm seeing in that person, or what I'm trying to instill in that person, which is a leadership mindset. And I tell you, I mean, I just get excited when that stuff happens. I mean, I recently had one of my associates at JLR promoted out to become a sales manager at our Porsche store. I'm ecstatic for him. I think the sky's the limit for that person now. And I know that he's prepared because we've been working together for 2 years now, and he's a disciple, if you will.
I can see that. What I love here is that passion's really coming through. I can see it in your face. So for those of you that are listening to audio only, boy, are you missing out. But we can hear it in your voice. And this is authenticity to me. This is hard to fake. It's hard to be in your shoes with the pressures and the stresses and the plates that you have to spin to fake the passion that I'm sensing about seeing your people grow and win. Why do you care so much?
I think there's a couple answers to that. When I first got into the automotive industry, one of my best friends got me into the industry. So I had a really good initial mentor, for sure. And so having that mentor helped me. And I noticed that I am where I am today because I had that mentor. And then I met my main mentor, which was our former vice president, Pete Lively. And he really brought it out in me, honestly. I mean, people need to understand that this isn't a light switch that gets turned on. I used to be the manager that nobody would want to work for. I was a command and control asshole, for lack of better terms. And, it wasn't working. And he made me understand that. And I think that the problem, not the problem, what I realized was, and this should be eye opening for almost anybody in a management position, the value you possess and the power you have is not in what you can do in an individual, it's what you can get those under you to do. And that only occurs when you are willing to pass on the information you have. I think far too often in the traditional model, once you get into finance or once you get into the sales desk, you believe the power is in what you can do as an individual. So you hold that information because only Mike can get that deal bought, or only Mike can close that deal. But you're really missing out on the value that you have as an individual, and you're undervaluing what you can do as a leader. And I think that's really when we start talking about the differences between a manager and a leader. A manager is going to control and command and is going to overvalue what they do by themselves. A leader is going to create disciples that are out there doing what they can do because you have that transfer of knowledge.
Having a mentor, I think, gets so overlooked. And you say that your mentor brought this out of you. So, and then you said
100%.
You used to be the typical run-of-the-mill GM. How hard was it for you to change your ways? Like, how long did it take? I think people are so afraid of change.
For sure.
What did you do to approach this change for yourself?
So I was the general sales manager of our Toyota division when I started my leadership development program with our vice president then, Pete Lively. And he would prescribe books for me to read, and every book was around either growth when it came to business mindsets, like Ray Dalio's book or Hans Rosling's Factfulness book. And then other books were about my own personal growth to help me understand that where I was is not where I should be. So really, a lot of it came from being an autodidact, just trying to learn more and more and more. And if you're willing to do that, then and if you're also willing to question yourself when you read something that is in contrast with who you are, that's when growth can occur. And candidly, I started that program with Pete back in 2019, and I don't really think I hit my strides until 2023. I don't really think I opened up and was like, oh my God, there's so much more there for me until 2023. And I think it took a lot of that consumption of information to really understand and shape who I wanted to be. And I still think that I'm constantly changing. I mean, what's the 7 most expensive words in business? We've always done it that way. Well, I don't want to always do it that way. I'm always looking for the next best thing, not because I want some new piece of tech or not because I want some new process, but because is this going to make it better for my client? Yes. Does it reduce the customer's effort to transact? Yes. Then let's move forward. Let's change. If it doesn't, let's not.
I love it. What is your, in recent memory, what is your favorite aha moment when it comes to this concept of unreasonable hospitality? What's the unlock for you happening recently?
With Jack Land Rover, we have goodwill empowerment where a customer is in warranty. We have a certain amount of money that we can spend to take care of problems. And that's a really reactionary mindset, right? Well, Joe Everhart recently, the CEO of JLR North America, has kind of asked us to be more proactive with it. And it was when I was able to start doing those things that I realized that I was going over the top in the beginning. Like, to go back to the wine example, if a client purchased a brand new Range Rover and I know they're big into wine and enophile, then I would go out and buy that 1982 Chateau Mouton Rothschild and give it to them. And that had a great impact for a moment. But what I learned over time using the goodwill empowerment was that typically, to again, Wells' point, it wasn't the price of the product that I got them. It was how it made them feel that created what I was looking for. And in being afforded the money to be able to do that with my clients from JLR was really, again, the point where they connected the dots for me. It made me realize that this isn't as expensive as I've been making it. I can be a better steward with JLR's money and elicit a greater response, and then also sell more cars, service more cars, get more hours per RO, get higher PVR, all the things that we're looking for in our business, all while creating a customer that is wildly loyal. And that's what I'm looking for. It's like you're either a Dunkin' Donuts person or you're a Krispy Kreme person. And typically that occurs because you went to one of them first, they met your expectation, and then over time you have repeat recidivism business, and they provided that same expectation over time. And eventually you might start buying the Dunkin' Donuts hat or the Dunkin' Donuts coffee mug, and you're a promoter of that business. Well, to convert you from Dunkin' to Krispy can't just meet your expectations. And so what I recognize is that I represent one brand in the luxury market amongst a sea of others. And if you are consistently a BMW client or consistently an Audi client or consistently insert luxury brand name, in order for me to convert you to Range Rover or to Defender or to Discovery or to Jaguar, I've got to be much better than what you're giving. So we've just got to raise the bar across the board when it comes to how we service the customer and how we treat them when they're in here with sales, so that they start to question the loyalty that they had to that previous brand. But it can't just stop there. It has to be throughout the entire ownership experience. And I personally believe that the dealer franchise model is in an existential battle for existence right now because of the fact that there's a lack of trust within the industry. And the only way that we're going to overcome that trust is by being honest and by creating experiences that the customer remembers and talks about.
Dude, you can expect my job application later today. I love this, man. I'm so passionate about this. When you see the twinkle in someone's eye that they got it and they are making an impact, and that positive impact is spreading, there is no greater feeling. Kudos to you. Congratulations. I mean, this is phenomenal. You are a shining star in our industry that I want everyone to meet and know. How can those listening or watching get in touch with you?
I mean, I do most of my talking on LinkedIn. You know, as much as I talk to my staff about using their social media, I personally try to stay off as much as I can because I don't like flipping through the phone all the time. But I am quite active on LinkedIn. Yeah, exactly. Doom scrolling. I like to replace doom scrolling with reading. So I'm trying to be conscious of it and just being more present. You know, my wife doesn't want me to sit there after work and scroll on Instagram and Facebook all night long. She wants me to be around.
It's the best part of people's fake lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But on LinkedIn, I'm quite active because I found that in LinkedIn, I find a community of like-minded individuals. And, you know, I saw you put a post up, I think it was yesterday, about billboards and versus being actually engaged in the conversation. And that resonated with me. I'm like, you know, sometimes I feel like I might be being a billboard and I need to be more proactive in being part of the conversation. So I've actively, since I saw that post, starting to engage with other people because I want to learn from them too. So to answer your question without continuing to be so talkative, LinkedIn, man, 100%. Yeah, you can follow me on there, reach out, I'll accept your connection, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody about anything. I don't have it right, I don't have it perfect, but I just think that we're doing something special here. And if anybody else wants to be a part of it, I'd love to help them.
I love it, man. No greater position to be than the fellow student who's willing to share. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please subscribe, share, and hit that like button. You can also join us and the DPB community on social media. Check back next week for a new Dealer Playbook episode. Thanks so much for joining.